Welcome back to the deep dive. So, you probably saw the scoreline. Bayern Munich 4, Hoffenheim 1. On the surface, yeah, it looks like just another day at the office for Bayern, right? Keeping that perfect Bundesliga start going. 12 points now. But you know us. We know that scoreline rarely gives you the full picture, especially with everything else going on around a club like Bayern.
Exactly. That's what we're here for today. Forget just the 4-1. We want to get into the tactical stuff, the moments where Bayern actually looked a bit shaky and, the decisions company made, how tired they looked, and of course Harry Kane just casually breaking records again. It's about how they got this win, especially when they were clearly feeling that midweek game.
Yeah, Kane's hat-trick was obviously huge, the safety net again. He's the main story in many ways. Hoffenheim, meanwhile, are kind of stuck mid-table, 6 points. But let's start with that first half struggle, because that really sets the scene, the fatigue factor.
Right. Context is key. Bayern had just scraped through that really tough Champions League opener against Chelsea. Draining game, physically and mentally. So, Coach Vincent Kompany decides to make 5 changes to the starting lineup. That's quite a few.
It is. And it immediately brings up that classic manager's headache, doesn't it? Rotate to keep players fresh, or stick with the winners and risk burnout.
Precisely. It's a massive gamble either way.
And looking at the sources, well, that gamble didn't seem to pay off straight away, that first 45 minutes. Honestly, if you didn't know, you wouldn't have picked Bayern as the league leaders. It was hot, and Hoffenheim, under Christian Ilzer, they really came out flying.
They really did. This wasn't Hoffenheim sitting back. No, they were pressing high, being aggressive. Players like Asllani and Press, they caused real problems. They were getting shots off, testing Neuer. The reports say Neuer had to make several saves, and Hoffenheim even hit the post. They definitely sensed Bayern weren't quite themselves.
Yeah, it absolutely felt like a Champions League hangover. And Kompany was refreshingly honest about it afterwards, wasn't he? He apparently told Ilzer straight up, look, you guys were better than us in the first half. He directly linked it to the Chelsea game. The hype, the tiredness.
That quote tells you so much. It shows Kompany knew the risk. The rotation was needed, probably, but it definitely cost them that initial spark, that cohesion. It really highlights the challenge of managing a deep squad, even with Bayern's quality. A slight drop-off, especially against a motivated side, and suddenly your world-class keeper is busy. The experienced guys looked a bit drained.
Okay, so if the veterans were feeling it, who actually provided the spark? And that brings us to maybe the most interesting part. The 17-year-old, Leonard Karl, gets his first start, becomes the second youngest player ever to start for Bayern in the league. It's huge.
It's a massive show of faith from Kompany, isn't it? Throwing a kid in like that right after a big European night. But Karl wasn't just there to make up the numbers. Kompany clearly wanted his energy, his pressing, and, well, he got it.
He absolutely delivered. And crucially, he was the one who unlocked the door just before halftime. Totally changed the mood going into the break. Hoffenheim must have thought they'd done enough to get in at 0-0, but Karl had other ideas.
Yeah, that goal was vital, psychologically huge. And it wasn't some intricate passing move. It was smart thinking from the kid on a corner. Instead of just floating one in, he drilled this low, fast cross. Spotted Kane had lost his man for a split second. Kane pounced, bang, inside the near post. Oliver Baumann had no chance. It was alertness, really, from Karl.
And Karl nearly scored himself just after. Showed great hustle to win the ball back high up, but maybe just snatched at the shot. Didn't quite get the power. Still, what an impact for a first start. He brought exactly what they needed.
It says a lot about how Bayern might be thinking longer term, doesn't it? Companies looking for that relentless energy, maybe realizing you can't just rely on the established stars week after week with the fixture list. Karl certainly justified that gamble.
That goal definitely seemed to settle them down, because the second half felt different. It wasn't necessarily flowing football, but it became about the sheer clinical finishing of Harry Kane from the penalty spot.
Right. This is where the fatigue argument kind of goes out the window, because Kane just delivers regardless of how the rest of the team is playing.
So 2 penalties awarded to Bayern. The first one comes from a handball by Hajdari. VAR confirms it. Now, interestingly, Kane had actually missed his last penalty, didn't he?
Yeah.
In the Pokal. But his Bundesliga record was still perfect.
Yeah, that adds a layer of pressure for sure. You miss one, even in a different competition, and suddenly people are watching that next one a bit closer. But Kane, his composure is just something else. He put it away low into the corner, did that little pause in his run-up, maybe playing mind games. Baumann went the right way, I think, but the placement was too good. Still 100% in the league.
And then lightning strikes twice. Michael Elise draws a foul just inside the box. Referee takes a look at the monitor, points to the spot again. And this one, this is where Kane makes Bundesliga history.
It's genuinely remarkable. Steps up again, cool as you like, sends Baumann the wrong way completely this time. And with that, he becomes the very first player in the history of the Bundesliga to score all of his first 17 penalties. 17 for 17. Just think about that.
That consistency under that kind of pressure,
Yeah.
it's just world class, isn't it? You can't really coach that level of nerve.
Well, maybe you can practice it into existence. Kane himself talked about it. He said, people think penalties are easy, but he puts in the hours. He works on his routine, his technique, constantly refining it. That dedication is why he can bag a hat-trick, his 9th for Bayern already, 2nd this season, even when the team performances may be a bit uneven. His goals basically covered for that rotation risk company took.
While Kane was breaking records, though, Hoffenheim didn't just roll over. They did manage to get a goal back late on.
And probably deserved one, based on that first half effort. It came from a free kick, didn't it? Kufal whipped it in with some real pace. Unlucky for Bayern, really. Joshua Kimmich tried to cut it out, stuck a leg out, and just deflected it past Neuer. Nothing Neuer could do about that one. Just wrong-footed.
And that goal, plus a fair bit of stoppage time, 9 minutes added on, it kept things interesting for a bit longer, didn't it?
Yeah.
Gave Hoffenheim a sliver of hope, maybe.
Yeah, 9 minutes is a long time. They pushed, looking for another, but Bayern slammed the door shut right at the end. Baumann made a save, I think, but the rebound fell nicely for Serge Gnabry. And Gnabry made no mistake, tucked it away from a tight angle. 4-1. Game over, definitively.
Okay, so let's pull it all together. We've gone through the narrative, the ups and downs. What are the really key things we should take away from this deep dive?
I think there are two main things. First, just the undeniable, almost separate reality of Harry Kane's goal scoring. Forget team form for a second. He's already got 8 league goals in 4 games. That's 5 clear at the top. His efficiency, especially with those flawless penalties, it just papers over so many potential cracks caused by things like fatigue. He's indispensable.
Right. That historic penalty record is almost a perfect symbol of his reliability. And the second point...
The second links back to company and that win ugly idea. This match showed Bayern can grind out results even when they're not firing on all cylinders. Like company said, they showed that reaction the second half. They were outplayed early because of the rotation and fatigue, no doubt, but their individual quality, plus that injection of energy from Karl, was enough.
It shows a certain mental strength, I think. Yeah, a resilience. And that resilience is maybe being boosted now by successfully bringing through young players like Karl, seeing him not just cope, but actually deliver the key assist under pressure right after those 5 changes. That's got to be really encouraging for Bayern's plans going forward. They need guys like that.
Absolutely. It shows the pipeline is working and that they have options to bring that energy when the established guys inevitably need a rest.
So we've got Kane's incredible penalty landmark, company navigating the post-Europe rotation, and a potential star emerging in 17-year-old Karl. The Bayern machine rolls on, maybe just a little creakily at times.
It does, but here's the final thought, the thing to maybe mull over. Building on what we've seen here, company was very open about being outplayed early on, directly blaming the fatigue. So what is that real trade-off for managers like him? How do you balance rotating enough to keep players fit for the long haul versus keeping that absolute peak match sharpness week in, week out in the league? Was making 5 changes the perfect calculation, just enough rest, but still getting the win thanks to individual brilliance? Or was it maybe a bit riskier than it looked, only salvaged by Kane being Kane?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The tightrope walk that defines managing a top club. Something for you to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Hopefully you'll look at that 4-1 result with a bit more context now.